Hello, folks. Welcome to the Gulf Coast Gearheads podcast with Jacob and Josh. Today, we have the car industry news for you with the last several days, stuff over the weekend, and a little bit from last week. So we're kind of catching you up to speed from the last couple days. The first thing that we have today, relevant news, is talking about Volkswagen and what they're doing to repurpose their loaner fleets. So
Right.
for those of you who don't know what a loaner is, give them a quick definition, Josh.
So this is essentially when you go to get your car fixed in the service drive or even just worked on for regular maintenance. The dealership has new car vehicles that are serviced out for the service drive so that you can borrow them while your car is in the shop. So you
Yeah.
don't own the car. It's just something kind of like a rental that you don't actually have to pay for.
Yeah, like a complimentary rental if you have to leave your car at the dealership for a couple of days or something,
Right.
or even like several hours and you have to go to work or something, they'll give you something. Some people have shuttles to where they'll drive you to your work if you're close or back home. But what Volkswagen is doing, all 600 dealerships across the country that
Wow.
are still open and operating, yeah, it's a lot of dealerships. They have about 7,000 loaner vehicles total. I don't know what the exact number is because, like I said, that's if all the dealerships are up and running. But what they're doing is repurposing those vehicles, and some of their dealership employees are going to use them to make deliveries and drop off stuff for people who need it. So what that includes is people who need, I saw they were dropping off groceries maybe for some people who
Wow.
couldn't leave the house. Um, People are dropping stuff off at the food bank. They're even delivering masks and gowns to medical workers, stuff like that. Anything that Volkswagen can do to help, because right now all those dealerships are probably running really slow right now. So
Right.
they're trying to do something else with it and help out the community, which I think is a super neat thing for Volkswagen to do.
Right, doing something very beneficial for people, and this is awesome because I'm seeing some of these brands. I think GM is doing a lot with ventilators and opening up their factories for that purpose. But this might be one of the first in America to sit there and really open up their line of vehicles to help out people. I think this is really, you could almost call it excessive that this brand is willing to do that, but at the same time, you're like, wow, like willing to do it all for anybody.
Yeah, and I know the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, Volkswagen, is paying the gas for these dealerships. So Volkswagen itself as a company is eating the bill on this one and doing a pretty good deed here.
That's awesome. Yeah, the only other brand I know of doing that, and this is worldwide, is Land Rover is doing that,
Hmm.
but it's specifically just for, I think, deliveries. They're not necessarily doing as much as Volkswagen, but either way, really super cool right now.
Yes,
Something
definitely
positive.
helpful. Yes, positive in the current news with that stuff. So then, with that going on, speaking of other car brands, we want to take a moment to discuss the not as big known Genesis. What do you got for us on that, Josh?
Well, this is pretty cool. Genesis, if you guys aren't familiar, is a brand related to Hyundai, and about um, late or early 2010s, about 2013, 2012 is when they really started out with the Hyundai Genesis. It was bigger sedan, nicer sedan.
I think 2015 to be exact.
Yeah, yeah. So like having these vehicles that were in their line as a Hyundai Genesis of some sort.
Oh
But then
yeah,
they
yeah,
split off and made their own brand as Genesis. This was a leap of faith at this moment because this isn't a time, even right now, that sedans. It's just not the time to be in the market. It's tough, but defying all the odds, and this is why we're bringing it up for you guys. Genesis has been one of the fastest growing brands in the world outside of Tesla in the last 10 years.
yeah.
Genesis, probably year over year, I wanted, last I looked at it, I have a Hyundai dealer, and we talk about it a bit, is that Genesis was up year over year. Earlier this year, about January, it was about almost 80%. Like
Wow.
it's very exponential numbers because of how small they were to where they are now, producing larger volumes. But either way, it's awesome to see for the car industry, people buying it. Biggest thing takeaway for you guys is these are awesome vehicles. Go sit inside them, go look them up. I'm definitely very excited about what they're doing. They're very competitive in the market. They also just recently announced 2 new SUVs that they'll be adding to their line, because currently they have sedans with the G70, G80, and G90. The G70 being more of their mid-class, very sporty car, very similar to a Mercedes C-Class or even a BMW 3 Series, so something along those lines, while the G80 is more of a 5 Series BMW or a E-Class Mercedes, so bigger sedan, and then the G90 is just a monster boat on land up there at the 7 Series and the S classes. But most car reviewers call it a best bang for your buck when it comes to a large sedan, if you're not worried about the specific badge. But outside of that, I'm really excited about what Genesis is offering right now.
Yeah, it definitely has some promising stuff. And some of these, we'll link it in the description below. They have some pretty good looking models coming up in 2021 and even this year later, 2020.
Right.
But like you said, what I think the issue is, when people who either know a lot about cars or nothing at all, if they want a luxury vehicle, the first 2 names they think of is BMW and Mercedes. So Genesis, and even people like Lexus, like we're going to talk about later, they are also experiencing an issue because the first 2 names that come up in the luxury conversation is BMW and Mercedes. So now Genesis is trying to fight that uphill battle. We think they're going to do a pretty good job at it. I mean, they have some pretty promising looking vehicles and really at some pretty good prices for what you're getting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you're talking about a car that's producing close to 370 to 380 horsepower with the G70 3.3 turbo, and that comes in like 4 different packages at this moment, on top of that larger twin turbo V6, you're talking about a car that's being priced between 40 to 50, and that's affordable in that segment when you're comparing to like a C40 Mercedes C43 AMG. Even right now, the brand new BMW M340i, I drove that car, fell in love. I don't have the money for it. I would love to have one. That's a story for another time. But yeah, very competitive. I mean, if you're wanting a powerful car, this is awesome. And their SUVs as well, starting 40 and 50. In comparison to all those other brands, I don't know. I'm excited. I don't know if you can tell. This is good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I even seen this article that talk about a rumored even flagship coupe. So that would be interesting to see. So we will stay tuned for that one. But speaking of other luxury brands, you're our luxury brand expert for today in the car news, Josh. So what's up next?
Well, I had some issues that the car world, and this is a lot of reviewers out there and websites, really putting out their indifferences with how Lexus has really treated the IS. And this is more specifically, we're going to target about the IS350. So the bigger V6, it's a 3.5 liter. But even just the IS class itself, the last time it was redesigned was in 2013. And last I checked on my time schedule over here, it's about 7 years ago.
It's about due time for it to change.
It was about 7. It needs to be now.
Yeah.
But the IS350 currently with that 3.5 liter V6, no turbos, so a little behind. I mean, in its class, like we're already talking about the G70. When you place the IS350, and this is specifically the F Sport all-wheel drive, we'll slap the red leather interior. I don't care. Better dampeners, everything on this car loaded up. It's still not competing speed-wise and just thrill of the drive when you're comparing it to its class competitors, and it's still at the same price point. That's the saddest part. I can go get a brand new BMW M340i pushing up near 390 horsepower and hitting 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. For the same price point, I can get a just barely over 310 horsepower, pushing 5.5 seconds and 0 to 60 IS350 F Sport. And so at the end of the day, like you were talking about earlier, we're comparing just luxury brands, and it's due for an overhaul. Please, Lexus, if you're looking at this and listening, I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. Please put something bigger in there. And we love the conservativeness. It's very reliable, but at the end of the day, I want to have a little fun when I'm driving, but okay.
Yeah, and even the features are kind of behind in that aspect too. People are always talking about the goofy entertainment system, especially with the earlier year models of this IS. But yeah, all
Right.
around it kind of just needs a refresh. And like we were just saying, when the bar is BMW and Mercedes, you have to come up to the bar at least. So
Right. They didn't even put Apple CarPlay into their cars, and this is Toyota and Lexus as a whole into 2018 or 2019.
oh wow,
While BMW and Mercedes were putting them in 2016. So come on,
yeah.
start competing. People care about their technology.
Yeah, no, seriously, especially with that segment, luxury stuff, they want the tech. But speaking of other vehicles getting a refresh, something else that we saw up on the board on some articles was in 2020, Dodge is thinking or going to, I think it's, I'm not sure if it's confirmed
It
fully.
is.
It is
It's
fully
showing up to
confirmed. Okay,
dealerships.
that's
Well,
okay.
barring
I see
whatever
that
is
now.
happening right now, it's coming to dealerships.
Yeah. So whenever it does arrive to dealerships, they're going to be 50th anniversary Dodge Challengers. Since, of course, obviously the first year of the Challenger was
Right.
1970 until about 1974. You had the Challenger second generation, which was, I believe, from 78 to 84, something like that. It was late 70s to mid 80s. Does not look like the first or third generation Challenger whatsoever. It's kind
We'll
of the
just pretend
ugliest
like it didn't
child.
happen.
Yeah, yeah. And so then they brought it back in 2008, which then gave it the facelift in 2015, which is what you see driving around the road more
Right.
commonly now. And so now they're talking about the 50th anniversary, kind of similar to when Mustang had its 50th anniversary back in 2015.
Right.
It basically gave it a appearance package, and they're going to give the Challenger a shaker hood, is what I'm reading on here, which is a pretty. You're talking about wanting to go fast and have fun and look cool while you're driving down the road. Well, you put a shaker hood on an American muscle car.
Well,
But
and I think they were going to produce a little over 1,900 units. And that's it.
1,960. So 1960, which
I was close.
I wonder if that includes, because usually with vehicles like this, especially special edition vehicles, they'll create a set amount for the public and they'll have some extras that go into museums. They'll stay at the OEM's offices and they'll auction them off for charity and stuff. So I wonder, I think it'd be cool if they had 10 extra to make it 1,970, 1970, the year it was made. I think that'd be cool.
Wow.
But I wonder if
Your
that
brain's working today. That's solid.
That's a
You heard it
on
here
my
first,
thinking
folks.
hat here. Yeah, right. So I wonder if they're doing that, or if just the 1960 is only what they're sending to dealerships, and there's 10 extra they're going to be laying around somewhere. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, most of the time they destroy those first and second prototypes, but yeah,
well,
you're right.
prototypes. Like we're talking VIN number 1 through 10. I wonder if there's.
We'll see them at Mecum Auto Auctions or Barrett Jackson here in about 30, 40 years.
Another 50 years, yeah.
We'll see.
Something. But yeah, folks, so that's some of the current car news we have for you in terms of what these OEMs are doing in a time of crisis and pandemic, and also some new and exciting vehicles coming up. And hopefully, speaking of Lexus, hopefully some redesigns coming up. But let us know what you think of these vehicles. If you've heard more information than what we have, or if you have other vehicles that you've seen that are coming up, send us some in the comments, put it on social media, let us know.
Right. And appreciate you guys. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more content, and it'll alert you when we put out those next videos for you guys. But appreciate you guys coming on. And this is Gulf Coast Gearheads signing off.